You're working on your scratch story. So let us look at some important do's and don'ts on how and when to switch your stage back. So be with me with a little story. Suppose you are working on a drama, on a play. So you have like a small team of artists who are working with you, and you have also got some of your friends to help you with the stage setting for the play. So the play title Driving Mad, it's going to start with a scene which is like outside in school, and then there are going to be a few characters here speaking to each other, and then it's once that scene is over, you've explained all this to your stage team who's going to help you set up the stage. And today you're going to do your first stage rehearsal. The first scene is nicely set up and the scene starts to take place. So the rehearsal is happening, all your characters are doing what they need to. And then suddenly we hear this voice coming from your stage team. And you hear them do a countdown, like they're counting. Once they reach a count of about, they come on the stage and they start to set up your scene too. And you're really taken aback. You're like, well, the scene is still going on. What you guys up to? And then they like, oh, okay, and kind of they go. And then after certain madness, you people continue. You're doing your scene too, and you again hear your team to the stage team. They're doing some counting, and this time count they cross 50 and they go all the way till 80, and then they come and they start setting up the next stage. And now you're like really becoming mad. Put everything to stop. You get everybody together and you're like, why are you doing this? Nobody in their right mind is going to do any kind of counter to switch stage. You know that. And yet, many of you may be doing this for your scratch story project. How often is it that you have seen this kind of code written down? This drives the message nice and clear. Please do not do this kind of code ever in your scratch project. You need to make sure that you complete the scene and only then you switch the backdrop. So let's pick up Ben, Elf, and Ballerina. When backdrop switches to scene 1, outside school. So I'm going to come to outside school so that I can set his position. So we can show he's just coming. So I'm going to set his position and and the other people do not want them in this first scene at all. So in the first scene, just want to show maybe moving a few times, maybe even 10 times, moving a few times. It reaches almost the center of the screen. And then we're going to make him do a little bit of exercise. So, he has some interesting costumes. And once he has finished this entire cycle, maybe I can just switch his costume to this costume in the end and wait for 1 second. And then I want the scene to be over. I want the next scene to start. Very nice and simple coding ways to do is follow a broadcast method to end scenes. So I'm going to broadcast a new message, and to make sure that it's very clear that this is the end of scene 1, I'm just going to broadcast scene 1 over. So what should happen when the scene 1 over happens? I'm not going to count for Ben to do something for 50 seconds. I'm going to wait for the event scene 1 over, and only when the scene 1 is over, I'm going to switch backdrop to scene 2. And now I want him to come here and continue exercising. So I'm going to duplicate this code here for scene 2. Okay, I'm not going to continue writing the code here. Instead, for clarity, when backdrop switches to scene 2, ballerina also to come here, and I'm going to set her position to be different. She can be here. And then I can make ballerina dance me and make her dance. And then maybe one or two more people come here, do their stuff. So they all are practicing and rehearsing for something. And when finally the last character is done, maybe we want to show Elf the teacher. So initially, when the backdrop switches to basketball, she's going to be hidden. Okay, so what we're showing here, Ben is exercising, and at some point he's going to finish his stuff, and then he can just move out of the screen. Now what she's going to do is she's going to dance me, she's going to finish, and then she's the one who's going to broadcast come in. And when I receive teacher come in, show the teacher, enter here, show, and then maybe she can do some stuff or just wait. And at this point, we want this scene to get over. So what will we do? We will use the same technique and we will broadcast scene to over. And we will come here, and when I receive scene 2 over, I will switch backdrop to the next scene. So if you look at your backdrop code, it's just going to be nicely clean, just kind of indicating what happens when you receive a previous scene over. You can start a new scene. And if you have many characters in your story and your end of scenes are happening by different characters, you may start to forget and get confused. So one very good way to it is use this add comment. So what you can say, Ben after exercising. So now if you ever want to change later or find out, you can do that here. So now, even if your story is 20 scene, 30 scene, whatever, you have absolute clarity when is a particular scene ending and when are you changing over to the next backdrop. So if you follow the simple method, structure, and to your scratch story animation, you can make very, very long stories without getting confused in your own code. Happy coding to you. Bye-bye.